Marek, and Matt's problems with Amy. A Little People, Big World Saga. Hello, welcome back. USA series spoiler update, please subscribe now. Matt Roloff was never the type to hide his opinions. For years, he and Amy had clashed over how to run the farm, raise their children, and present themselves to the world. Divorce didn't end those disagreements. It simply shifted them into new arenas. When Amy announced her relationship with Marek, a Portland-based real estate agent, Matt tried to be supportive in public. Cameras rolled, smiles were forced, and the narrative of friendly exes was pushed. But behind closed doors, resentment grew. Chris was the kind of man who seemed endlessly patient, calm, and steady, qualities that made Amy feel safe after years of stormy disagreements with Matt. For Matt, however, those very traits rubbed salt into old wounds. To him, Chris represented everything he couldn't be for Amy. Sharing spaces. Problems escalated when Chris began spending more time at Roloff farms. He helped Amy pack, attended family events, and even joked with Matt on camera. But those lighthearted exchanges masked deeper friction. For Matt, the farm was his domain, his life's work. Chris walking the property with Amy stirred feelings of invasion. Every laugh between Amy and Chris in the farmhouse kitchen reminded Matt of what he had lost. Amy, caught in the middle, tried to maintain peace. She encouraged the men to get along, but every attempt backfired. When she suggested that Matt and Chris might even become friends, Matt bristled. "Friends?" he said during one heated discussion. "I'm not here to be his buddy, Amy." Filming pressure. The TLC cameras only added fuel. Producers knew there was tension, and they encouraged situations where Chris and Matt had to interact. Planning parties, discussing farm events, even family gatherings were staged to capture their awkward dynamics. Chris, a newcomer to reality TV, tried to remain diplomatic. He often said things like, "I respect Matt and what he's built," but his calm demeanor sometimes made Matt feel mocked. Behind the scenes, Matt reportedly complained that TLC was trying to paint him as the jealous ex. Chris, meanwhile, struggled with being labeled the replacement husband. The wedding saga. Amy and Chris's engagement brought everything to a head. Choosing a wedding venue became the biggest flashpoint. Amy shocked fans by choosing to marry Chris at Roloff Farms, the very place where she had lived with Matt for decades. To Chris, it was simply a beautiful location with sentimental value. To Matt, it was betrayal. He felt pushed out of his own land, forced to watch another man marry his ex-wife under the arches he had once built for her. Tensions between Chris and Matt boiled over. Reports of off-camera arguments circulated. Amy was torn. This was supposed to be her fresh start, but the past refused to let go. The family divide. Chris and Matt's problems with Amy at the center also pulled at the wider Roloff family. Zach and Tori kept their distance, wary of both men's tempers. Jeremy and Audrey tried to stay neutral but leaned toward defending Matt's legacy. Amy often felt trapped. She loved Chris deeply, but every time he crossed paths with Matt, she braced for sparks to fly. Even small disagreements, like who should host Thanksgiving or how to handle farm tours, turned into major conflicts. Private struggles, public faces. In confessionals, Chris admitted that marrying Amy meant also inheriting her complicated history with Matt. "I knew it wouldn't always be easy," he said, "but I didn't realize how deep the wounds went." Matt, for his part, confided to friends that he felt replaced, not just as Amy's husband, but as a patriarch in the family dynamic. "Chris gets to play the good guy," Matt muttered in one tense exchange. "I'm always the bad guy." Amy grew increasingly frustrated. "This isn't about the past anymore," she told both men. "It's about my future. And if you two can't respect that, then maybe neither of you belong in my life." Breaking point. The final straw came during a family gathering when Matt made a sharp remark about Amy's new husband playing farmer. Chris, usually calm, snapped back. Voices rose, the cameras caught it, and producers knew they had gold. But for Amy, it was devastating. "I'm done being the rope in this tug-of-war," she said, leaving the room in tears. Aftermath. In the months that followed, Chris and Matt attempted a fragile truce for the sake of family harmony. but the scars remained. Amy tried to rebuild her peace by focusing on her marriage and carving out new traditions away from the farm. The problems had started years ago, rooted in unresolved feelings and amplified by television cameras. And while Chris and Matt never truly became friends, they learned, begrudgingly, to coexist, united by one truth. Amy Roloff had always been, and would always be, at the center of their story. A marriage under scrutiny. Marek thought marriage would give him and Amy a chance to step away from drama, but he underestimated how deeply Matt was woven into every aspect of Amy's life. From family gatherings to filming obligations, Matt was always nearby, and his presence kept tensions alive. Amy felt trapped. She wanted to celebrate newlywed bliss, but conversations about Matt crept into nearly every dinner with Chris. "Why do you let him get under your skin?" she asked. Chris would shrug, but the truth was obvious. Chris didn't like being painted as the man who took Amy from Matt.